So can you tell me how you started in this? But what makes financial sense? Good financial sense.
Oh, Microsoft has gone down. My retirement account.
Greetings from Chicagoland. Welcome to another episode of Munira's Musings. Our guest today is David Chudyk. Welcome to Munira's Musing, David.
I am super excited to be here. I host my own podcast, but it's always exciting to be a guest on other podcasts and really see how they run their shows and everything. So I'm excited, and I hope to learn a lot and hopefully give your listeners and viewers some value.
Well, thank you. So our Munira's Musing is a podcast where one story can change the way you see the world. Each episode, we sit down with remarkable guests whose journeys open doors to insight, to growth, and often to a new perspective. These are real stories that spark conversations, part storytelling, part soul-searching, and always an invitation to grow. As you listen, think of a friend who you discuss this episode with, because the best stories don't just end when the episode does. They always live on in conversations. So let's lean in and listen, because today's story just might be the spark you're waiting for. David, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I've had an interesting couple weeks. My oldest son just graduated from University of South Carolina, and then I have twins that are graduating from high school, and they also had their last soccer match. So we have been doing soccer, club soccer and high school soccer literally for 18 years. And my beautiful wife and I, that's been a big part of our life. So we are no longer soccer parents. So we'll have a lot of free time and free money now that we're done with soccer. It's been a great run. Our kids have learned so much from being part of team sports. It teaches you just so many things. But yeah, we're getting ready for the empty nest. Our twins are moving out in August to go off to school, so we have a new chapter. But I'm a certified financial planner with Parallel Financial professionally, and I have like this theory and guiding principle that how we handle our money should positively impact our lives and the lives of those around us. So I don't know if you are like me, to where you've had some times in your life where money was not plentiful and maybe money was not handled properly. And then maybe you've had other times where money was a little bit more plentiful and handled a little bit better. And what I can tell you is the times when we handle our money properly, those times are just better. So I help my clients to make decisions that'll just help them to have better lives and have their loved ones have better lives. So it's not really about just accumulating as much as you can. It's about doing the hard thing, so then your oldest son can walk down, get his diploma and not have college debt. So it's like, it's not about having money, but it's about maybe what the money can do for us and the freedom that can give to us.
So two things you touched on was time and money, essential things in everybody's lives. So one thing is, my audience is a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people who are trying to step into this entrepreneurship and start a business. Why is money important and why is time important for them? Can you touch a little bit about that?
Yeah, so you can trade money for time. So if you but you can also trade money for freedom, and you can trade money for time in two different ways. So you can go to a job and you can clock in, and they're going to pay you X amount of dollars per hour while you're there, and you're going to work. Then you're going to clock out and you're going to go home. So you just traded your time for money, and now you get a paycheck, and you can buy groceries and pay your rent or mortgage and support your family. And that's one way to use money to buy time. Now, or that's one way that you trade time for money. Now, the other thing that you can do once you're in an entrepreneurial role is you can look to attempt to spend most of your day working on projects and tasks that excite you and honestly that generate revenue. And then you can work towards being able to delegate all of the things that you don't particularly like doing or are not good at doing to somebody else. So things like, if you're a small business owner, you probably should be working towards having the ability and the resources to have somebody else do your bookkeeping. Okay, bookkeeping doesn't generate revenue. It's incredibly important, but most small business owners probably aren't all that good at it anyway. So you need to pay someone to do your bookkeeping. Maybe things like scheduling, maybe things like just uploading the forms and documents that we need to handle as entrepreneurs. I actually just made a leap and I hired somebody in a brand new role that I've never had before as an executive assistant, and she's doing a great job, and she's handling a lot of these small 1 or 2 minute items that used to bog me down like all day, and now she's getting them done. So I'm using money to pay her, and then she in turn is giving me more time to either go home and enjoy life, or to on a professional basis, go out and chase revenue and clients, because that's kind of what we need, is revenue and clients. So the business owners, I think it's really important for them to work towards, now you can't do it all right now, but work towards being able to delegate, having the resources to delegate non-revenue and non-essential items.
So let me ask you this. You speak like somebody who's seasoned in your field. So can you tell me how you started in this field?
Yeah, this is a crazy, crazy story. So growing up, like, we did not have money. So, money was always a limiting factor. We would hear things just like, we can't afford that. And maybe some, I don't know, victim mindset, language was just normal in our house. And but I had always just wondered, like, how come some people, like, they just seem to have enough, and they just seem maybe if there's an emergency in their house, they can afford to make a repair, or and then as I got into college and I got a little bit out in the world, I saw that there are people who their parents are able to support them a little bit, and things like that. So I started wondering, like, what is this whole deal with money? Like, how come some people have it and some people don't? I listened back in the day. We didn't have podcasts yet, but we had radio, and there was a radio show called I think it was Money Talk, and it was a guy that was just talking about stocks and bonds, and that was not something that I was familiar with in our family. And I listened to this guy talking about, hey, if you buy this stock, or if you would have bought this stock, you would have made X amount of dollars. And I started thinking, wow, like, people are buying stocks and then making money, and then selling stocks and having a profit. Like, that's an amazing concept, and how come I've never been around that? So fast forward, I had a couple jobs, and then I was able to get a job working for someone as a financial services representative back in, I guess that would have been 2002. Got some licenses, did some studying, and then I was able to go out on my own in 2005, and haven't looked back since. So it's fascinating for me that most people think if I just make more money, I will be more financially sound. And that is not the case. Now, of course, it's easier to be more financially sound if you have more money, because there's more margin. But I've seen plenty of people who have lots of money coming in, but they have the same number of dollars coming in. They have like that same amount of dollars going out. And then, yeah, they have 2 nice cars or 3 nice cars, but they have very, very little margin. So our behaviors and habits are what shape our financial health.
So is it always true that you have to invest in stocks and bonds, or what's another way to make money?
Sure. So there are many different asset classes. And I actually just did 2 or 3 episodes ago, I did an episode on my podcast just talking about the positives and negatives of each asset class. So stocks and bonds, most people own some stocks and bonds, whether it's through a 401k or things like that. And when you own a stock, you own a little piece of a company. And when you own a bond, you are basically lending money to an entity, either a government or a business. But there are other ways that you can invest, other types of assets. There's real estate. So what if you bought a home and you rented it to me? Well, over time, the home would tend to go up in value. And then also, I would either be giving you revenue, or I would be indirectly paying your mortgage. So that potentially is a great way for you to build wealth. What if you bought commercial real estate? What if you bought maybe a strip mall that had 5 units, and 5 businesses are each giving you rent money every month? So now you hopefully have some positive cash flow, and the value of the building is going up. So real estate is one asset class that many people should consider. Now, like anything, real estate has positives, but also has negatives. There is some liability with real estate. You don't always collect rent. I mean, people leave without paying, and then, you can sue them, but but you may never collect. And there is some work that you either have to do or you have to pay somebody to do. So there may be some repairs and such. So you're either paying a property management firm or you're doing them yourselves. But yeah, I mean, real estate is a great thing. And then, we have cryptocurrencies, we have precious metals, we have commodities. So many different types of assets are out there. And it's actually very important that most of us own some of numerous asset classes, because there's very rarely been times in history where stocks were down, bonds were down, residential real estate was down, commercial real estate was down, and commodities are down. Like, by the law of numbers, one of those asset classes is going to have to be up, and that'll help mitigate the chance of major losses.
Okay. So for entrepreneurs who are starting out and have no idea about figure out this, they have their own business to worry about, and then they have all the stocks and bonds and cryptocurrency and real estate, so they don't know anything about that. But what makes good financial sense for entrepreneurs who are starting out or in already business, but they're not? What are the things they're overlooking, and what should they be looking for and figuring out that this should be making me money?
Yeah, so that is a really good question. The first thing that you have to think about if you're an entrepreneur is, what is your biggest asset? And it's probably not your retirement plan. It's probably not your savings account. It's probably your business itself. Okay. So many of my clients are business owners, and some of them, with the recent stock market volatility, have been a little bit stressing out over their retirement accounts, and hey, Apple's gone down, Microsoft has gone down, my retirement account has gone down, and we don't have direct control over that. But what we do have direct control over is, how do we run our business to where one day the business will be attractive to a buyer and you can sell the business for a premium multiple. Okay. So there are 8 drivers of value, 8 things that if you get these things either right or moving in the right direction, your business becomes more valuable and more to a potential buyer. So you can sell it for a higher multiple when you're ready, or just have an easier life today, because a sellable business is a more profitable business. So one of the things that we need to do is look at your business, especially if you're new. This is hard, but look at it as an asset. Don't look at it as a job. Don't say, I'm going to work, I'm going to my job. Because once you take that plunge and you're an entrepreneur, you no longer have a job. And your goal should be, as you build your business, to hire your replacement each step of the way. So yes, in the beginning, you might have to, do some accounting and bookkeeping, but you need to look for ways to hire someone to do that. Yes, you might have to do some customer service work, but eventually you want to have the revenue to where you're paying someone to do your customer service work and so forth. So look at your business as an asset. I cannot stress how that mindset shift can change your life.
You talked about being an empty nester, and you will have some money coming to you. Now you'll save some money because they're no longer in sports and everything. But you also mentioned that your son walked through the stage and had no college loans. How does that work?
Well, I think you have to, college loans and college is one of the most important financial decisions that a teenager and their parents can make. And sometimes we expect 18-year-olds to know what they want to do for the rest of their life, and that's not really a reasonable thing to do. So I think it's important to, number one, go to a school. If you're going to, let's go backwards. Not everybody needs a 4-year college degree. Okay. So the days of where everybody applies to college and everybody goes for a 4-year degree, that may not be necessary. There are a lot of 4-year jobs that really don't pay that well, and it's 4 years of tuition. So first of all, decide if you need a 4-year degree. If you want to go into the trades, a lot of times you can go to a technical college for free or almost free, learn some trades, and then a lot of contractors own businesses and they do really well. So first is decide if you need a 4-year degree. Second is you have to look at the return on investment with your degree. So you might like, and I'm not picking on English majors, but you might like to read and you might like novels. Well, there aren't that many ways to make a good living, with an English degree or in the English field. So maybe pick a degree that has other, higher earning potential, and then, dabble in your English and that hobby on the side. And then finally, in the United States, a lot of times we try to pick our school based on the football team that we like or the basketball team that we like. And a lot of those schools, they may be private schools with high tuitions. And I think that we just need to look past that, and we need to a lot of the state institutions, the state schools, the tuition is somewhat affordable. It may not be free, but it's fairly manageable. And then you also have to be creative as far as how do you pay for things. So one thing that we did, and this is a great hack, is we bought a house for our freshmen, and it was not an expensive house, certainly not a mansion, just a 1,300 square foot house, a couple miles from campus. So we put some money down, but a reasonable amount of money. It wasn't millions of dollars. It was $15,000, something like that. And then we have a mortgage on the house, and the mortgage is something between mortgage and insurance. It's something like $800 or $900 per month. And then we rented two of the three bedrooms to friends for $500 or $600 each. So instead of having to pay for our son's apartment, which would have been maybe $800 on up to $1,300 per month, or $1,500 if you got one of the really nice apartments. So instead of spending that every month, we made $200-ish per month. And we have a house that's gone up in value by, somewhere between $20,000 and $60,000. So there always can be creative ways to solve problems. Now, some of the apartments in a lot of college towns are ridiculously nice, and they have like golf simulators and lazy rivers and granite countertops, and that's cool. But to live in a house that's built in the 60s that basically gives you free rent, that's cool also. So we kind of opted a way to not have the luxurious college living, but do the financially smart way. So there's always ways, or there can be ways, to solve problems creatively.
Okay, so that's one way to make money. But now if I, like for me, I'm an empty nester, my kids are gone for a long time. So how then do I become smart, and how is it too late for me to start saving money or looking into the bonds and stuff like that?
It's never too late. Obviously, with the power of compounding interest, the earlier that we can start, the better. But it's never, ever too late. So getting involved with investing in equities, which are stocks or bonds, typically you can work with a financial advisor like myself, and we can help you to manage your money. Or you can pick, there are many ETFs. You can pick index funds, and an ETF is or a mutual fund. It's basically a bunch of stocks that are very similar and managed to a purpose. So there may be an international ETF that invests just in, China. There may be a blue chip ETF that invests in just large American companies. There may be a sector ETF that invests in maybe pharmaceuticals. So, there are some ways to get started with relatively low amounts of money. You can do research, or you can work with someone like myself. But you said something interesting, like, is it too late? And obviously, it would be best for all of us to start when we're 10 years old and invest thousands of dollars a month, but we can't go back in time. So I do find that a lot of people, they almost get that paralysis, and they're like, well, it's too late, so I just won't do it. And that's obviously not the right answer. The right answer is, the reality is I should have started earlier, but I didn't. So let me do what I can now. And if that's $10 a month, it's $10 a month. If it's $5,000 a month, it's $5,000 a month. But do what we all always need to do, what we can do when we can do it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So any last words for my audiences, and quick tips on how to save money, or how to, because we're all entrepreneurs here, we're trying to figure it out. So quick tips.
Quick tip. So the biggest tip is listen to the Weekly Wealth Podcast. Go to www.weeklywealthpodcast.com. And I talk a lot to the business owners, and I do give a lot of mindset tips. Now, number 2 is going to be philosophical. It's going to be decide what money means to you and make your decisions based on that. So, when people think about money, they think about like flashy cars and, some prideful person that has like a $50,000 Rolex and a Lamborghini. And, that's really not what money is to most people. Money to most people is like freedom, like the ability to say, hey, my kid graduated and does not have student loans. That is so gratifying on our end. So think about what money is to you and build your decisions around it. And then finally, as far as like just do something, like start saving something or start doing something. Look at your checking account statement and see if there's a couple of subscriptions that you can cancel to free up some money every month and put that money in a cookie jar. But start somewhere, because we're all getting older and it's easy to blink our eyes and then 10 years goes by, then another 10 years, and then all of a sudden we're old and broke. So start and do something. Ask somebody for help. Email me, David@parallelfinancial.com. I can help you, but start today and do something. And then those actions will multiply.
I appreciate this. Much as I want to continue talking about this episode has to come to an end. And I hope today's conversation gave you something to think about, because it did give me some things too. Because I never had, I never put away money for college. I never had a room that I could, a house that I could buy and then rent. So those ideas never came to me. So we learned, and that water is under the bridge. But this is just a new way of looking at the world. If this give you a little bit of encouragement, go ahead and reach out to David, because he has lived it and worked it. And why not go along and share this episode with another friend? Because if you want, go ahead and listen to David's podcast, learn some more tips, and then reach out to him, because finance is a very big, it's an elephant in the room. Most people know they have to do something about it, but most people don't. And
thinking about investing and investing are two different things. So we have to actually do it. And sometimes that's really hard. So just get started with something. Take whatever really stresses you out with money, and talk to a friend, talk to a financial advisor, talk to somebody. Just start solving one problem, and then it can snowball.
So David, how do people reach you one more time?
You can email me, David@parallelfinancial.com, or you can go to www.weeklywealthpodcast.com. There is a contact us link, and there also are all our podcast episodes.
Thank you very much. So ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to hear more stories like this, be sure to subscribe to our channel, so that the next one finds its way to you. Thanks for spending time with us. Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and keep making your mark. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome.
Thank you, David.
All righty. Thank you.